This morning we will start by looking at Genesis chapter 40. Sometime later, Pharaoh's chief cupbearer and chief baker offended their royal master. Pharaoh became angry with these two officials, and he put them in the prison where Joseph was, in the palace of the captain of the guard. They remained in prison for quite some time, and the captain of the guard assigned them to Joseph, who looked after them. While they were in prison, Pharaoh's cupbearer and baker each had a dream one night, and each dream had its own meaning. When Joseph saw them the next morning, he noticed that they were both upset. "Why do you look so worried today?" he asked them. And they replied, "We both had dreams last night, but no one can tell us what they mean." "Interpreting dreams is God's business," Joseph replied. "Go ahead and tell me your dreams." Notice here that Joseph does not take credit for interpreting the dreams, but gives full credit to God. I suspect that since Joseph had spent some time locked up with these two individuals, he had taken many opportunities to talk about his God. Joseph goes on to tell each of them the meaning of their dream. The cupbearer will be returned to his original position in 3 days and will continue to serve Pharaoh, whereas the baker in 3 days would be taken out and executed. Joseph asked the cupbearer to speak to Pharaoh when he is released from prison and explained that he has been falsely accused by Potiphar's wife. However, as we read at the beginning of chapter 41, it was 2 full years later before the cupbearer remembered Joseph. Can you imagine what those 2 years must have been like? And so, our life lesson today is be patient with God and with others. Be patient and wait for God's timetable. Max Lucado, in his book, "You'll Get Through This, Hope and Help for Turbulent Times," puts it this way: 2 years, 24 months of silence, 104 weeks of waiting, 730 days of wondering, 2,190 meals alone, 17,520 hours of listening for God, yet hearing nothing but silence. Plenty of time to grow bitter, cynical, angry. Folks had given up on God for lesser reasons in shorter times. He goes on to say, "I can't say that I like waiting for anything. Time moves like an Alaskan glacier. The clock ticks every 5 minutes, not every second. Someone pressed the pause button. Life in slow-mo. We don't like to wait. We are the hurry-up generation. We weave through traffic looking for the faster lane. We frown at the person who takes 11 items into the 10-item express checkout. We drum our fingers while the microwave heats our coffee. Come on, come on. We want minute rice in 30 seconds. We don't like to wait. Not on the doctor, the traffic, or the pizza. Not even on God? Take a moment and look around you. Do you realize where we sit? This planet is God's waiting room. To wait, biblically speaking, is not to assume the worst, worry, fret, make demands, or take control. Nor is waiting inactivity. Waiting is a sustained effort to stay focused on God through prayer and belief. Psalm 37:7 tells us, "Be still in the presence of the Lord and wait patiently for him to act." Yes, we live in an age that wants instant results, but God doesn't work that way. We need to realize that God has a timetable and a plan for this world. He also has a timetable and a plan for each of our lives. Sometimes we just need to be patient. I remember a cartoon from years ago that said, "Lord, please teach me patience, but hurry up and do it." There are many stories in the Bible of those that had to wait. Abraham waited for the birth of Isaac. He was 100 years old when Isaac was born. Moses didn't lead the Exodus until he was 80. The Israelites had to wait 40 years wandering in the wilderness before they could enter the promised land. And Noah waited 120 years for the rain to come, and almost another full year before the land was dry enough for him to leave the ark. David, in the book of Psalms, has much to say about patience and waiting. Here are a couple of examples. Psalm 27, verses 13 and 14. "Yet I am confident. I will see the Lord's goodness while I am here in the land of the living. Wait patiently for the Lord. Be brave and courageous. Yes, wait patiently for the Lord." And Psalm 37:7 tells us, "Be still in the presence of the Lord and wait patiently for him to act." In 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verses 3 to 10, Paul talks about having patience when being attacked for preaching the gospel. We live in such a way that no one will stumble because of us, and no one will find fault with our ministry. In everything we do, we show that we are true ministers of God. We patiently endure troubles and hardships and calamities of every kind. We have been beaten, been put in prison, faced angry mobs, worked to exhaustion, endured sleepless nights, and gone without food. We prove ourselves by our purity, our understanding, our patience, our kindness, by the Holy Spirit within us, and by our sincere love. I will finish with Colossians chapter 1, verses 11 and 12. "We also pray that you will be strengthened with all his glorious power, so that you will have all the endurance and patience you need. May you be filled with joy, always thanking the Father. He has enabled you to share in the inheritance that belongs to his people who live in the light." And so this time of self-isolation requires us to have patience. The lines at the grocery store require patience. Waiting for a time when we can visit our friends and family requires patience. Waiting to be able to return to church requires patience. Remember, God is with us no matter what circumstances we face. And when God's timetable is right, this too shall pass.